Participation in social activities of long-standing interest. The person engaged in social activities that have been of long-standing interest to him or her. The activities may be quite varied and should be counted as long as they involve interaction with at least one other person. Examples include attending meetings of informal clubs, playing bingo or card games, attending religious services or informal discussion groups. F1B, visit with a long-standing social relation or family member. The person was visited by or made a visit to any family member, friend, or social acquaintance with a long-standing relationship with the person, such as a neighbor or fellow member of a community organization or religious group. The focus here is on well-established, informal ties rather than visits with psychosocial well-being. F-RAI, participation in social activities of long-standing interest. The person engaged in social activities that have been of long-standing interest to him or her. The activities may be quite varied and should be counted as long as they involve interaction with at least one other person. Examples include attending meetings of informal clubs, playing bingo or card games, attending religious services or informal discussion groups. F1B, visit with a long-standing social relation or family member. The person was visited by or made a visit to any family member, friend, or social acquaintance with a long-standing relationship with the person, such as a neighbor or fellow member of a community organization or religious group. The focus here is on well-established, informal ties rather than visits with paid staff, volunteers, or new acquaintances. FLC, other interaction with long-standing social relation or family member. The person had contact by telephone, email, or video call with a family member, friend, or social acquaintance with a long-standing relationship with the person, such as a neighbor or fellow member of a community organization or religious group. As with item FLB, the focus is on well-established, informal ties rather than contacts by paid staff, volunteers, or new acquaintances. Ask the person for his or her point of view. What activities does he or she enjoy participating in? When was the last time he or she was able to participate? Who tends to come to visit? And when was the last time that person visited? Are there other ways the person contacts family or friends, for example, telephone or email? If the person is unhappy, what specifically is he or she unhappy about? If possible, also talk with family members and friends who visit or have frequent telephone contact with the person. The primary caregiver may have a good sense of who visits or contacts the person. He or she can also describe the most common social activities the person was involved in recently. Coding code for the most recent occurrence for each item. 0, never. 1, more than 30 days ago. 4, in last 3 days. 8, unable to determine. Note, score 8 for unable to determine if no information is available from the person or other informants about the person's social relationships. Sense of involvement. To assess the degree to which the person is involved in the life of the long-term care facility and takes initiative in participating in various social and recreational programs, including solitary pursuits. F2A. At ease interacting with others, consider how the person behaves during the time you are together, as well as reports of how the person behaves with other residents, staff, and visitors. A person who avoids opportunities to be with others, spends most time alone, or becomes agitated when visited, is not at ease interacting with others. F2B. At ease doing planned or structured activities. Consider how the person responds to organized social or recreational activities. Consider the person's apparent level of comfort with the structure based on verbal and nonverbal cues. A person who is unable to sit still in organized group activities, acts in a disruptive manner, frequently attempts to leave or refuses to attend any such activities, is not at ease doing planned or structured activities. F2C. Accepts invitations into most group activities. A person who is willing to try group activities, even if he or she later decides the activity is not suitable and leaves. Or who does not regularly refuse to attend group programs, accepts invitations into most group activities. F2D. Pursues involvement in the life of the facility, for example, makes or keeps friends, is involved in group activities, responds positively to new activities, assists at religious services. In general, consider whether the person partakes of facility events, socializes with peers, and discusses activities as if he or she is a part of things. A person who conveys a sense of belonging to the community represented by the facility or the particular nursing unit is involved in the life of the facility. F2E. Initiates interaction. S. With others. Consider the extent to which the person approaches others, either for conversation or to join in with social activities, for example, exercise groups or parties. F2F. Reacts positively to interactions initiated by others. When approached by others, the person participates in the suggested activity or agrees to participate at another time. F2G. Adjusts easily to change in routine. The person is quite at ease with changes in usual routines. For example, staff turnover or reassignment, new treatment or medication routines, changes in activity or meal programs, new roommates, changes in visiting patterns by family or friends. Selected responses should be confirmed by objective observation of the person's behavior, either verbal or nonverbal, in a variety of settings, for example, in his or her own room, in unit dining room, in activities room, and situations, for example, alone, in one-on-one situations, in group activities, over the past 3 days. The primary source of information is the person. Ask about his or her perception, how he or she feels, how he or she likes to do things, and how he or she responds to specific situations. Then talk with staff members who have regular contact with the person. For example, nurse assistants, activities personnel, social work staff, or therapists if the person receives active rehabilitation. Remember, it is possible for discrepancies to exist between how the person sees him or herself and how he or she actually behaves. Use your best clinical judgment as a basis for coding these items in planning care. Coding 0. Not present. 1. Present but not exhibited in last 3 days. 2. Exhibited on 1 to 2 of last 3 days. 3. Exhibited daily in last 3 days. Example of how to code sense of involvement. For the past 6 months, Mrs. A has been receiving 2 white pills, 1 blue pill, 1 yellow pill, and 2 puffs of medication from an orange handheld aerosol inhaler. The drug company that makes the inhaler recently changed its packaging. When Mrs. A is given the new blue inhaler to use and is told that it is the same drug with a different color holder, she becomes very agitated and upset. It takes a lot of patience and reassurance by the nurse before Mrs. A uses the new inhaler. This happened several days ago. Code item F2G as 1. Unsettled relationships, to indicate factors that may adversely affect the quality and nature of the person's relationships with others, including staff members, family, and other care recipients. 3A. Conflict with or repeated criticism of other care recipients. A reasonably consistent pattern of hostility or criticism, expressed verbally or with physical gestures, directed toward other care recipients. This category also includes bathroom mate for persons who share a private bathroom. Unhappiness may be manifested by arguing, frequently requesting roommate changes, grumbling about bathroom mates spending too long in the bathroom, complaining about roommate rummaging in one's belongings, or complaining about physical, mental, or behavioral status of roommate. Other examples of roommate compatibility issues include early bedtime versus staying up and watching TV, neat versus sloppy maintenance of personal area, roommate spending too much time on the telephone, snoring, or odors from incontinence or poor hygiene. F3B, conflict with or repeated criticism of staff, a reasonably consistent pattern of hostility or criticism, expressed verbally or with physical gestures directed toward one or more staff members. The person continually complains about staff members to other staff members, argues or yells at staff, verbally criticizes staff members in therapeutic group situations causing disruption within the group, or constantly disagrees with routines of daily life on the unit. A positive response to this item does not require any assumption about why the problem exists or how it might be remedied. F3C. Staff report persistent frustration in dealing with person. One or more staff members report experiencing an ongoing, repetitive, or continuous sense of frustration in their interactions with the person. Staff may also provide nonverbal cues, for example, facial expressions, physical gestures that indicate they have difficulty interacting with the person. F3D. Family or close friends report feeling overwhelmed by person's illness. One or more family members or close friends of the person verbally indicate to staff members that they're having trouble coping with the person's illness. They may state their feelings of being overwhelmed with concern or worry over the person's well-being or stressed out. They may also report feeling greatly stressed by the person's behaviors, if present. Family or friends exhibiting nonverbal indicators such as increased health problems or depression should not be coded as yes. F3. E says or indicates that he or she feels lonely. The person states or otherwise indicates that he or she feels lonely. The person may feel that others do not visit enough or desire more social interaction even if visited regularly. Others may also report that the person sometimes comments on feeling lonely. Ask the person for his or her point of view. Is he or she generally content in relationships with staff and family, or does he or she feel unhappy? If the resident is unhappy or dissatisfied, what specifically is he or she unhappy about? It is also important to talk with family members who visit or have frequent telephone contact with the person. How have relationships with the person been in the last 3 days? During routine care activities, observe how the person interacts with staff members and other care recipients. Do you see signs of conflict? Talk with direct care staff, for example, nurse assistants, dietary aides who assist in the dining room, social work staff, or activities aides, and ask for their observations of behavior that indicate either conflicted or harmonious interpersonal relationships. Consider the possibility that some staff members describing these relationships may be biased. As the evaluator, You are seeking to gain an overall picture, a consensus view. Coding code for the appropriate response. F5B. Finds meaning in day-to-day life. Consider the person's subjective view of daily life. Is the person able to identify meaningful activities or important social relationships that he or she continues to value? Does the person provide indications that he or she is engaged or interested in events either within or outside of the facility? F5 degrees Celsius. Strong and supportive relationship with family. The person or primary caregiver indicates he or she has a supportive relationship with family member S. The person may feel he or she can rely on family members. Family members may be actively involved in the person's physical care, in financial management, or in helping the person make medical decisions. One or more family members maintain regular contact with the person, provide comfort and advice, or act as a confidant. Initiate a conversation with the person about life prior to entering the long-term care facility. Ask the person what he or she looks forward to doing or who he or she enjoys visiting with. It is often helpful to use environmental cues to prompt discussions, for example, family photos, grandchildren's letters, or artwork. This information may emerge from discussions around other inter-RAI-LTCF topics, for example, customary routine, activity pursuits, ADLs. Direct care staff and family visitors may also have useful insights. Coding code for the appropriate response. 0. No. Example of how to code strengths. Mrs. P has experienced a serious reduction in functional ability as a result of being in a relatively advanced stage of multiple sclerosis. Her daughter visits on a regular basis and takes her for a cup of tea in the facility's cafeteria. Mrs. P particularly enjoys hearing about the activities of her grandchildren, and she sends them birthday cards with her daughter's assistance. Although she is fully aware of her declining functional status, she does not dwell on her health when interacting with others. Code 1 as yes for A, consistent positive outlook, B, finds meaning in day-to-day life, and C, strong and supportive relationship with family.